Tunerfest North. So we have quite a packed schedule ahead of us. If you just take a look at your timetable, if you do have that handy, if you don't, then let me fill you in. Currently on track, then you can see the TCRs and the TCTs going around for their pre-practice. Next up, we've got Time Attack warm-up, and then we are back to the Miltech Sports Civic Cup, and then we have Time Attack Run What You Brung, and that's just that's just the next hour or so. So as you can see, it's quite a packed schedule. We're going to be here until pretty much 6 o'clock tonight, and running alongside the Tunerfest North show. Welcome everybody. We've got 750 or so club cars here. We've got 30, 35 or so clubs with us as well, car clubs. So it's great to see everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And I believe this might be, in terms of Time Attack and in terms of some of our other metrics, this is actually one of our most popular events in a while. Definitely one of our most popular Oulton Park rounds as well. That being said, of course, we can only run this if we all comply with the COVID stuff. So please do be sensible, maintain your distance, do wear a mask if you're indoors, if you're queuing up for your food, etc. I know on the horizon is a change to how we have to do things, but for today, those rules still do apply, and in order for us to be able to keep doing motorsport, that really all hinges on us being able to follow the rules. So thank you very much in advance for being sensible, putting on your mask, and also just generally being sensible when it comes to doing car clubs and car shows. Don't rev your engines too much, don't speed around, all of that good stuff. Of course, while we are here, let's give a shout out to 3 of our sponsors who are here supporting Tunerfest North. That's Power Maxed, that's MMT Performance, and that is Top 10 Giveaways. And lastly, actually, Top 10 Giveaways are doing the draw for their Nissan Nismo 370Z. Tonight at 4 p.m. is when the draw closes, and the winner will be announced at 4:30 p.m. If you do have a schedule, or if you're in the Tunerfest North stands, go take a look at this awesome Nissan Nismo. Of course, it is not a standard car in the spirit of Tunerfest. It is really quite modified by the looks of things. So absolutely go have a look around this car, consider entering the draw. Thank you very much to those guys for supporting us today at Tunerfest North. And of course, thank you to all of you who have made the effort to come here today to join us. Thank you very much, and we'll be getting the commentary underway for you shortly. Time Attack coming up soon, and right on track currently are the TCR machines. Just have a good one, and we'll be right back with some commentary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Time Attack Round 4 at Oulton Park. Those of you who are here at Tunerfest North, of course, we did just speak ago. Those of you tuning into the stream, though, hello and welcome on board. This is now just the warm-up that is getting underway. As it implies, as the name would suggest, this is just warm-up. The drivers are here to... And one takeaway, one point that we always emphasize during the driver's briefing is that warm-up is indeed warm-up. That is all it is. There's no need to go hard. Go hard or go home does not apply during warm-up. It's a lesson that I learned myself painfully a few years ago, which is why I am now commentating instead of driving, having smashed up my car during warm-up. So don't try that at home. Bad idea. So today we're running the island layout of Oulton Park. It's probably, at least for me as a driver looking back, it's looking back after a long career. This is one of the most challenging circuits, actually, just owing to the fact that it's really fast, and there are some sections coming through kind of these foresty bits where you have these trees that are crowding the track that make everything feel quite closed, and it's like you're in a tunnel going at hyperspeed. And not only, you know, the track itself, you can really get some good speed up there, but the track isn't straight. You know, even the straights aren't terribly straight. There's lots of undulations in the road. There's lots of corners with these very slight gradients, very shallow corners. And if you get your lines perfect, you can really go for broke around Oulton Park. But that does require you to really be stringing together the lap very well. Now, owing to the speed that you're carrying, you know, if you do get your line a little bit wrong, you overrun something, you try to back off the gas, unsettle the car, of course, traveling at quite a lot of speed, then you might find yourself in a bit of a tricky situation. So it's not uncommon for drivers here to fall off to get some of these things a little bit wrong, because really it's a circuit that demands high speeds, but makes it actually quite challenging to do so. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers tackle this today. For those of you who are experienced in Time Attack, you've been following for a while, you know that our sessions are divided into classes. Time Attack is, broadly speaking, all about modified cars. It's a discipline that was born in the mountains of Japan. Various privateers, you know, just regular old people and garages just building up what were pedestrian, you know, pretty regular cars. You know, turbocharging was really becoming much more of a thing, and actually it became quite accessible to build yourself. You know, we're talking about the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and beyond. It became actually quite possible for the every person to build themselves something very fast indeed. Now, of course, people in rural areas, especially in Japan, with all the mountain roads and so on, didn't have any racing circuits per se locally for them to go and test this stuff on. So they would go and just drive them on the mountain roads, or the tuges, as they are also known, the mountain passes. And of course, that was a bit of a dangerous situation, and so actually then this stuff moved to purpose-built circuits. Morning, Susie, who's just joined me here in the box. She will be giving us some commentary from the pit lane later on. And yeah, so with all of that tuning culture underpinning what is now known as Time Attack, this is a type of motorsport for cars that are, broadly speaking, quite modified. That being said, they can be modified to different extents, and the class that they are competing in depends on the extent to which they are modified. Now today we're running 3 sessions. The first session has Clubman, Clubman Plus, Pocket Rocket, and Classic and Retro. And those are for the most mildly tuned cars. Then we have our club classes, Club 2-wheel drive, Club 4-wheel drive, Club Sport, which are you know, these are pretty extensive builds at this point. These classes typically are very popular, especially Club 2-wheel drive, because once you start getting a little bit involved with your build, you know, the Clubman classes really are quite restricted in terms of what you can modify and tune up. So chances are, if you've gone with a quite elaborate build already, you will then find yourself in one of the club classes. There we go, the car is then heading out onto the track, And the final of the 3 sessions in Time Attack then we have are the pro cars, and these are really extremely modified, and we'll get back to those when the time comes, and we'll be looking at our pro classes when they do hit the track for warm-up. Currently, though, it's Clubman, Clubman Plus, Pocket Rocket, and Classic and Retro, and right at the front of the queue, then, you would have seen Mark Spence in the Silver Throne Performance Mazda RX-7, and this is I believe, probably an FB chassis with a big glass wraparound hatch on the back. Classic and Retro then making a very welcome return here to Time Attack. It's probably my personal favorite class, just because it's just so wacky to see these really old chassis and old creations mixing it up on track. You know, it's something that you don't get to see every day. Time Attack, at the best of times, is very varied anyway. You know, we've got a whole bunch of stuff, but these do tend to be cars that you see day to day, whereas Classic and Retro has some really unique machinery. So it's great to see Classic and Retro back in its own class. For this round, there's enough of them to warrant making a class for them. We have 4 entries in Classic and Retro. That's Antonio Giovinazzo in the Alfa Romeo 155, who has done Time Attack for longer than I can remember in that car. Mark Spence in the Mazda RX-7, Thomas Mosley in a Rover Mini, and then we have Stuart Tranter in Old Boy Racing is the name of his team, with the Rover 220 Tomcat. And there on your screens then, let's have a look at one of our other classes. This is Chris Butcher in the Lexus ISF in Clubman Plus. Lexus ISF being, for me, a real connoisseur's performance saloon. You know, most people tend to go to the for the M3, the AMG Mercedes, stuff like that. And Chris Butcher actually then bucking the trend and jumping in the Lexus ISF instead, which is a bit more left field and quite an engaging, a real driver's car. You know, it's back to basic, naturally aspirated V8, available as a manual as well, and of course with all the modern mod cons as well. So it offers that undiluted driving experience, but with all of the luxury that one would expect from a Lexus. So truly, that's a thinking person's performance machine. Love to see it. Let's have a look at 2 of our hatchbacks on the screen then. This is the Pocket Rocket class. We have the Citroen Saxo of Andrew Kime, the number 45 machine, and the Tegewa Racing Honda Civic of Michael Birch. There we go, one after the other. Michael Birch then with his headlights on to signal to the other drivers and to the marshals that he is indeed on a hot lap. Andrew Kime behind him, you can see his cool down light flashing. For those of you who don't understand what that means, or perhaps you know, just switched off for that particular moment and thinking, hang on, what do the lights mean? You know, part of Time Attack, of course, is setting a fast lap. But another part of the skill of Time Attack is negotiating the traffic, and also just having that driver's etiquette when doing so, when trying to set your fast lap in a circuit that's full of, you know, up to 30 other cars. So the way that's done is, firstly, headlights on mean that you are on a fast lap. Oh, here we go. We've got a car there moving quite slowly. Look like Andrew Kime with that flashing cool down lamp. He's really fallen off the back of the Honda Civic of Michael Birch. So I wonder whether Andrew Kime's run into some kind of problems. But the headlights being switched on means that car is on a hot lap, and if your headlights are off and your cool down light is on, that means you're on a cool down lap and you need to yield to the drivers who are on a fast lap to not hold them up. There you go, Andrew Kime then coming off, going really quite slowly beforehand. Here we go, Tim Bedford then in the Mazda RX-8 crossing the line. There we go, he's about to begin his flying lap as he comes into, oh, there he goes now, rolls down the avenue through Denton's. Let's perhaps follow him round for a little bit here. Tim Bedford then through Denton's and now into Cascades he goes. Tim Bedford then, who we remember from previously in a Pro Class Super Impreza, this year making the jump into the Mazda RX-8, which I believe was his daily driver, and then for some reason it got drafted into Time Attack. There we go. Through Lakeside now comes the Mazda RX-8 of Tim Bedford, through Island Bend. There we go. In fact, it looks like he's just done Shell Oil's Corner, and here we go, now up and into Britain's he comes, the little chicane here. Here we go. Oh, we're not doing the chicane maybe. And now down Hilltop Here we go, out of shot. Just behind him then is that Mini that we mentioned, one of the classic and retro Minis. Now through Knickerbrook and Clay Hill goes the classic Mini. The car of Thomas Mosley, 33 Motorsport machine. There we go, Tim Bedford in the Mazda RX-8, and just behind him, hot on his heels, is Thomas Mosley in that Mini. Just behind them of Mark Spence, a car that you don't often see these days, let alone in Time Attack. So great to see such a real collector's item these days joining us here today. Headlights off on these drivers' cars, so actually they are not pushing that hard just yet. They are not demanding that others get out of their way because they're on a hot lap. And those of you who've done track driving before will know that generally speaking, most cars can't do lap after lap after lap after lap for a whole 20 minutes of just hot laps alone. The drivers and the cars just can't do that. You know, things get a little bit too hot, and it's just not doable, it's not feasible. So that's why after doing a few hot laps, drivers will then do some cool down laps. And that's why we see, you know, this difference between the headlights on and the headlights off situation to signal whether you're in a hot lap or a cool down lap. There we go, we've got a little gaggle then forming as we come into the island bend. Corner where I've seen many cars come out backwards through Island Bend, so it'll be interesting to see whether that happens more of that today. I'm going to call it big braking coming down Lakeside and into Island, so your front end really loads up, your rear goes light, and we often pointing the wrong direction coming out of or into Island. Anyway, there we go, Chris Butcher then. Just behind him is the Alfa Romeo 155 for Antonio Giovinazzo that I just was talking about a little bit earlier on. And let's maybe take a look at some of these lap times then. Michael Birch in the Tegawa Racing Honda Civic, fastest of all with a 140.5 so far, and ahead of Chris Butcher in that Lexus that is now on your screens, the ISF, the fastest lap of 141.5. Bearing in mind that this is only warm-up, this isn't even practice. Like, these drivers are not going hard at all, or they shouldn't be anyway. They would be prudent not to be, because it's just not worth the risk. You know, there are no points on the line, absolutely no sense in pushing hard right now. That being said, Chris Butcher then with his headlights ablaze, you can see him squirming around under braking. Again, Island's really a tricky one to get done right because your front end is just so loaded up coming down that hill. But currently running second fastest overall. The bottom of your screen then is the Giz Fab K11 Micra of Eden Young. New car for this year, and entered as a single round entry once upon a time, but he's now 4 single round entries in. So perhaps one day we'll see him as a championship contender, who knows. Chris Butcher then second fastest so far with a 141.5. Again, just to reiterate, this is only warm-up, so none of these drivers are likely to be pushing terribly hard. So it's really tricky to read anything into the form of this so far. Now, of course, some of these drivers do use actually, you can just see how low that Lexus ISF is. Presumably on some kind of coilovers there to get that nice, you know, it's looking stiff through the corners, it's looking low. Chris Butcher's machine looks really quite great, and it is his daily driver actually. And you take a peek inside, it has got a full interior. This is pretty much a stock Lexus ISF, with the exception perhaps just watching from the cameras, looking how the car moves, presumably some kind of suspension upgrade, probably coilovers, but other than that, largely a stock car. Our top two then remaining the same. Eden Young then, let's have a look at this Gizfab K11 Micro, the number 201 machine. Not something you see every day in Time Attack. I know these are quite popular in, or were once quite popular in rallying. Absolutely tiny little car, short wheelbase, super rotatable. Is that a black flag out just then? Interesting. Moving around then under braking is Eden Young in the K11 Micra. actually scheduled in to go onto a suspension dyno just to sort out some high-speed bumps and wobbles it's been having, and just to try to get all of that stuff planted and riding nicely. Let's have a look. Rob Boston, this isn't Rob Boston actually, but this is Rob Boston's car, as we may remember from Brands Hatch. Today, this car is being driven by Paul Waddington, and the Team Confusion Ford Fusion, actually K20 powered machine, involved in quite a heavy incident last time around at Brands Hatch, as I'm sure some of us will remember. Now, of course, this isn't something that just, you know, this isn't T-Cut having done a good job. This is actually a reshell. I do believe it's pretty much the same color, even looks like the same spec, the same shape, the same body kit, but this is an all new build. So actually massive kudos there to Team Confusion for managing to reshell that car, taking that incredible Honda K20 power plant and moving it into a brand new, well, you know, relatively speaking, unscathed at least, Ford Fusion. So great to see these guys back out with us. They change driver every round, so this time it is Paul Waddington. Last time around, Rob Boston, very experienced track driver. There we go, the number 99 machine, built as a bit of a joke, you know. How quick can we make a Ford Fusion? And as it turns out, the answer is really, really quick. So there we go, Paul Waddington moving around the outside of that Mini Cooper, and has actually gone fastest of all. The 139.7 has the number 9 car, this Ford Fusion here, with what looks like xenon headlights ablaze. And yeah, let's see. A few minutes remaining of this session. Let's just see how the order goes. Here we go then, 45 seconds of the session remaining. This was warm-up in our Clubman Club and Pocket Rocket, and for today, Classic and Retro classes. Michael Birch then trading blows with Paul Waddington, Honda Civic on Ford Fusion. Violence in warm-up. Let's see if this battle continues throughout the day. Quite possibly so. These are two of our front runners, the Michael Birch machine of Takeover Racing, of course, having massive pedigree behind it. Very fast thing indeed. And these newcomers, these upstarts in the Ford Fusion, throwing the rule book completely out of the window. They don't give a damn about the form book. They are here in this Ford Fusion, and they are here to throw down some very fast laps. It'll be interesting to see how that battle develops through the season. Checkered flag is out. And for those of you following along at home, if you are interested. There we go. Here, oh my God, moving around loads is Michael Birch in that Honda Civic EK. Headlights ablaze. He is really disregarding, you know, all that stuff we're saying about don't go hard in warm-up. Warm-up is warm-up. Well, I don't think Michael Birch really was listening to any of that, but you could just see that slip as he was bouncing through this track. Again, as I mentioned, it's a very uneven circuit indeed. Michael Birch then, let's see if he goes any faster. He does a personal best sector 3, doesn't go faster overall, but he does do a personal best sector 3, and you could just see that just from watching from the cameras, watching from the track side if you were lucky enough to be there. He was really going for broke through that sector there. And of course, these drivers are just beginning to find their feet, just beginning to find their pace. Antonio Giovinazzo there in the Alfa 155. So it'll be really interesting to see how these drivers progress as the day goes on. Checkered flag is out, so our Clubman and other cars, Pocket Rocket, Classic and Retro, will now be filing off the track, making room for our club cars to commence their respective warm-up session. Here we go, then the final of our Clubman cars filing off the track. You can see towards the back of your screens there. Coming into the pit lane now are Clubman, Clubman Plus, Pocket Rocket, and Classic and Retro machines. Elsewhere in the pit lane, our club cars are ready to head out onto the circuit. The Club 2-wheel drive and Club 4-wheel drive. Warm-up then underway for our Club Sport, Club 2-wheel drive and Club 4-wheel drive machines. Those of you thinking Club Sport, is that a new class? Well, actually Club Sport is not a new class per se. We have had this in the past, and Club Sport is there for cars that you can see on your screen like this, Westfield Megabusa, Caterhams, crossbows, that kind of class. So Club Sport is generally there for kit car type machines, generally more subscribed to than it is today. Club Sport has just the one car today in the form of Steve Arkley, following some withdrawals, but don't let that put you off. This is a a welcome addition. As always, you can see there that Westfield Megabusa going toe-to-toe with the Renault Megane R26 of Chris Atkins, the Driveway Motorsport entry. There we go, into the start-finish straight, then this pair go down into Old Halls, and behind them, the Andy Stockton in the Vauxhall Astra van. There's a name we haven't seen in Time Attack for a little while, and hot on his heels then a whole bunch of other cars. So David Lawrence there, another David Dyson in the Porsche 911 GT3, Hayden King in the Seat Leon, and of course we also have the Subaru Impreza of Chrissy Martin, the GC8 machine. There we go, then David Lawrence just making his way around Andy Stockton's machine. I was going to say Andy Stockton's car, Andy Stockton's van. A classic name in Time Attack. Andy Stockton has been around for absolutely ages. Big inspiration for my own Vauxhall Astra build as well. Taking a year out this year, but he is back for Oulton Park with a single round entry. You can see this gaggle of cars there. Neil Greenland right at the front of the queue in that Mitsubishi Colt. Very, very fast indeed. And we've seen historically one of the fastest cars in Club 2-wheel drive is Neil Greenland in that green Mitsubishi Colt, the Pro Alloys machine. I got a good look at it actually last night on the drive to Oulton Park. It was being trailered coming up the M40 or something like that. Not going to bore you with that much. But yeah, cool car. Great car to see out in the wild. There we go. Anyway, David Dyson then, the two Davids, David Dyson, David Lawrence. That 911 GT3 is just astonishingly quick, yet not really catching up that much to the Seat Leon Cupra of David Lawrence. David Lawrence then this year coming back as part of LSR Motorsport, having buddied up with Nick Stott in the Mini Cooper Coupe down in Pocket Rocket class. So we have this new alliance formed between David Lawrence and Nick Stott, straddling two whole classes. Anyway, there we go. David Lawrence then just managing to stay ahead of David Dyson. See, the timing has now appeared on the side of your screens. Looks like David Lawrence there flashing his indicators as he yields track position to the Porsche GT3, who was really hassling him throughout that whole lap just to get out the way and liberate David Dyson to some free air. Except, of course, he doesn't have free air in front of him. He's got a Mitsubishi Colt of Neil Greenland with his headlights on, meaning that he does not have to yield to nobody. And he has absolutely no intention of doing so, because in his mind, actually, his car, his entry is faster than David Dyson. These two have been fighting really hard, tooth and nail, throughout Time Attack while they've both been involved. And it's again, it's a testament to the variety of cars that we have here in Time Attack. We have this Mitsubishi Colt and a Porsche 911 GT3 in the same class. And you can see Neil Greenland then beginning to perhaps pull away from that Porsche 911. There's definitely not much in it, and we've seen this time and time again in the past. Very, very close performance from these two. That being said, this is only warm-up, probably not really worth getting too fighty about it just yet. There we go, up and over that crest that they come through Deer Leap and onto the start-finish straight. Again, then Neil Greenland keeping his foot down, headlights still ablaze. There you go, David Lawrence then on your screens, just behind them now, making his way through Old Hall Corner and onto the avenue is David Lawrence in his new for 2021 Cupra. we go, Neil Greenland then. And yeah, as I was saying, on the side of your screen then, you can see some timing information come up, divided up into classes, which is very handy. But if you do want some more information, you know, we have quite a few drivers here. There's no way I can cover all of them. I've got only, you know, 2 hands and 1 mouth and half a brain, so there's no way I can get around to doing absolutely everybody. So by all means, bring up the same timing screen that I have. If you want to follow a particular driver, oh, so there you go, Samuel Pickering then, fastest of all with a 134.3. Can't say I'm hugely surprised by that. Samuel Pickering is a very, very fast driver at the wheel of a very fast car indeed. And let's talk about that a little bit more as the day progresses. But just as I was saying, if you do want to follow one particular driver, or you want to get a little bit more data than what's on your screens right now, I would really recommend you go onto the TSL timing website. So just go into your search engine of choice, Google or Bing if you're a nerd, and put in TSL timing, and you can get this incredible timing screen with all the names, all the cars, all the classes. You can even switch across and get a little map that shows you where all the respective drivers are. So yeah, if you want to follow things in a little bit more in depth than I'm able to right now, by all means go and open up the timing screen, the exact same timing screen that I'm using, and you'll get all the information you could ever need. There we go. Let's have a look at the number 64 car, the machine of Johnny Fletcher, the Duranza Vauxhall Astra GSI. So the Vauxhall Astra squad here representing in full almost at Oulton Park. There we go. We have Andy Stockton just ahead of Johnny Fletcher there in a Mark IV and Mark V Astra, both running Z20s from what I can remember. There we go. Here we have the machine of James Dover, the Delano-built racing Honda Integra Type R. This one's a DC5 chassis. The same team, the same friends. We've got a DC2 chassis as well, but I haven't actually seen that car here today. Yep, here it is, the 145 Honda Integra Type R of Sean Amara, also Delano-built racing. This one's a DC2 chassis, but now let's have a look at this DC5. Very, very quick machine. If I remember correctly, we did have James speak with Susie Wallace in the pit lane last time around. He explained that he actually came also from a Vauxhall background, fast Vauxhall background, and of course I use the term fast lightly. So he then decided, actually enough of that, I want some spicy wasabi in my life, and he jumped into the import-only Honda Integra Type R DC5 chassis. Let's not forget the DC2 was available in the UK, didn't sell in huge numbers, but the DC5 is grey import only. It's not our only DC5 that we have in Time Attack. Oh, what's going on? Oh, no, just camera wiggling around, nothing there. We do have 2 DC5s here in Time Attack. We've got the one of James Dover, and we do also have the spare car of Tegoa Racing, the ex-BTCC machine, also a Honda Integra Type R DC5 chassis, which of course, back when it competed in BTCC, raised a lot of eyebrows because the whole point of BTCC was win on Sunday, sell on Monday, and you can't even buy that car in the UK. So there we go, James Dover then with a little bit of exotic spiciness. Anyway, let's have a look. So the number 223 machine, that is Natalie Brooks in the faster BMW M3, which on high boost is running, I think, in the high 700s horsepower. Low boost is only 600. Something ridiculous like that. And I just remember just how casually she dropped that into the conversation with Susie into the pit lane, when in fact your low boost setting is 600 horsepower. You know you're dealing with quite a serious machine. And there we go then, Natalie Brooks, very familiar with this M3, with track driving, having done quite a lot of track driving herself already. So there we go, back for Oulton Park in the BMW M3, the faster entered machine. I think maybe one of the only faster Time Attack cars this year. Of course, many of us also remember this livery being present on the Bentley Continental GT3 of Luke Clayton in the GT3 sports car and prototype class. But for now, it's only on this BMW M3, which is no less exciting, actually. It's a very, very, very fast machine. There we go, across the start-finish line it goes, and into Old Hole Corner goes Natalie Brooks. Let's have a look at the running order then, with 3 minutes of warm-up remaining. Again, caveating it with the fact that this is only warm-up, so it's likely that a lot of these drivers aren't going to be pushing too hard. But we have David Dyson in the Porsche 911 GT3, currently fastest of all with a 1:33.7. And then just behind him, Samuel Pickering in the Super Impreza Type RA with a 1:34.3, so 0.6 seconds between our top two. Then we have Neil Greenland in the Mitsubishi Colt, who we've discussed quite a lot today. Then we have James Dover in the Honda Integra Type R with a 1:36.8. So quite a big gap between these top four drivers. 3 seconds currently split them. But of course, let's not forget, this is only warm-up. We are going to see some big gaps because none of these drivers are really pushing terribly hard. Then we have Jonathan Ellsworth in the Caterham Supersport F190 with a 1:37.2. Interestingly, in a different class to the Westfield Megabusa, I just realized, hence the pause. Then we've got Natalie Brooks with a BMW M3 with a 1:37.3. And then we have another M3. This is the E92 shape, the car of Mike Butler, the GC Performance machine with a 1:37.3. Oh, sorry, 1:38.1. Then we move on to Club. Four-wheel drive, here we go. So then we have Sean Wheatley in the Perron Audi TT RS, which we've seen a few times now. It is a single round entry allegedly, but it has been around for a while. Arturo Suxurius then the 9th overall, 3rd fastest in class with a Super Impreza. And then we have Andy York from Spooks Motorsport, back in his Peugeot 205, this one being K20 powered. Interesting to see that car back. Andy York having done Time Attack for quite a while, but he's hasn't been involved too much this year. But it's great to see Andy York's machine back with a 1:40.6. So just getting back into the swing of things is Andy York in that K20 powered machine. Then we have Chrissy Martin in the GR Performance Subaru Impreza GC8. Russ Walker in the BMW M4. Andy Stockton again making a comeback here and currently putting in a 1:42.9. Then we have Hayden King in the Seat Leon with a 1:43.6. David Lawrence with 1:43.9 and the other Seat Leon Cupra. So the two Seat Leons running top to tail. Then we have Kevin Thieker in the Vauxhall Ashton GSI. And then 19th overall, oh here we go, we've got some more. Then we've got the Westfield Megabusa of Steve Arkley, which I did see running a little bit slowly earlier on, so I think he might just be doing some calibration, maybe just finding his way around the track, maybe getting the car through some teething troubles. I don't really know a great deal about this machine, so it'll be interesting to learn some more. Perhaps we can get Susie there to have a chat with him. It'll be interesting to see what the spec is on this Westfield Megabusa. There we go, Russ Walker's machine there, just making his way around Kevin Thieker. And then, of course, let's not forget, currently 20th overall, 15th fastest in class is the Renault Sport Megane R26 of Chris Atkins, Driveway Motorsport. And the checkered flag is out. So there we go, checkered flag is out. That is warm-up done for our club classes. Bearing in mind our pros are going to be hitting the track very shortly. And while they do that, I'm just going to take a sip of water because my throat's pretty dry. Here we go then, our pro cars entering the track. So as we looked at earlier, our time attack cars are broadly grouped into 3 sessions: Clubman, Club, and Pro. And this is broadly decided by the extent of their modifications. You can see everyone just lining up, ready to go out onto the track. They seem to be stopped a little further down than I'm used to. So I wonder what's going on there. So our drivers, they're just getting ready to kick off their warm-up. For those of you watching on the stream, I am just loading up to see if there are any comments. Perhaps I can field some questions. See lots of good luck messages, which is nice to see. Thank you very much. Here we go, then the track is now live. Drivers are heading out. Carl Owen there saying good luck, guys. Carl Owen himself, time attack veteran, remembered by many for his Z4M. Another pretty unique machine to see here at Time Attack. All right, so let's get things underway. So these are our pro group cars. They are subdivided into, let's find our notes because it changes sometimes. Club Pro 2-wheel drive, Club Pro 4-wheel drive, Pro 2-wheel drive, BC Racing Pro 4-wheel drive, GT3 Sports Car and Prototype, and Pro Extreme. So these are really the cars that, you know, if you've grown up perhaps following Time Attack, you know, you've been involved in, you know, Japanese cars especially for a good few decades, you'll remember that the heyday of the noughties where a Time Attack car was really defined by what these days we call a Pro Extreme car here in British Time Attack. So really unlimited aero, massive power, and pretty much an open rule book. So these are the kind of cars that we're going to start seeing here in the Pro session. These are the really extremely modified road cars. With one exception in the GT3 Sports Car and Prototype class, in which the cars never began life as dealership-bought cars. These are cars that were purpose-built, factory-built race cars that have now found a second life in Time Attack. And if you're wondering why that is, like what the logic is behind that, when Time Attack is all about modifying road cars, if you just let's take a little history lesson. You have Roman Grendel there. If you're watching on the screen, Roman Grendel in the number 333 car in Club Pro 2-wheel drive. It's an Audi S3. You're thinking this should be all-wheel drive. This particular one with its sequential gearbox is actually 2-wheel drive only, front-wheel drive. But yes, if you are wondering why Time Attack has a GT3 and sports car class, is that not really entirely within the ethos of Time Attack? Well, consider this. So when you have your prototype and sports car racing, GT3, GT1, and so on, the rule book in that refreshes every so many years. And when that formula is updated and, you know, the build and the spec moves on, those older GT3 cars are no longer eligible and or are no longer competitive. And so they just kind of get parked up. And also for various, you know, parity, balance of performance reasons, these cars are never run at full power. They run various restrictor plates on them. They might run success ballast. They might have their aero trimmed back. So not only are these cars never really pushed to their maximum in their competitive life is also relatively brief, and then they've got nothing to do anymore because they're not eligible for any competition. So Time Attack then took the thought took the stance of thinking, well, look, we have these amazing racing cars that are just parked up. No one can really do anything with them. The drivers are keen to get some track time, but nobody will take them. And also throughout their competitive life, they've been running with you know, quite a big handicap. So why don't we take that time attack modification, turn it up to 11 mentality, and also apply that to GT3 cars? And that's what you get here in time attack. So these GT3 and sports car and prototype cars are, you know, there's more to it than just that. These are not, you know, you haven't just removed this from GT3 competition and plonked it into time attack. This rule book allows you to take that GT3 car, give it to, say, Roger Clark Motorsport, and say, here you go, turn this up to 12, put on as big a wing as you want, take all the restrictor plates off. Let's just really modify this. Let's go full Need for Speed Underground 2 on this GT3 car and bring it to time attack. And that's what we see here today. And we did see the old, the GT3 car of Luke Clayton, the faster machine, now go and do Pikes Peak. With, you know, it did have some modifications to it to be competitive at Pikes Peak, but that's the kind of thing, you know, that's the kind of life that these GT3 cars live, is they are really going above and beyond merely being a GT3 car, even though they're classed as such. These are really quite extensively modified. Anyway, let's have a look at the competitive running then so far, bearing in mind that this is only warm-up. Actually, a little factoid for you is that this is so not competitive, and, you know, it doesn't award any points or anything, to the extent that if you were to set a lap record right now, it wouldn't count, it wouldn't be official, because this warm-up session and the practice that comes afterwards are not officially timed. This is literally just for warm-up. So, for example, you could set the fastest, you set a lap record right now, or you could set your fastest lap of the whole day right now and say it rains afterwards. And all that work was for nothing. So really, there is no need to go chasing big lap times, though. Although you can see that Mitsubishi Evo is spitting some big flames out of the side. Oh, here we go. That is the number 151 machine of Colin Dorward, the track formula Mitsubishi Evo 9. He was involved in a big incident at Brands Hatch last time out, and you can see it's out on track now. It looks like you can see, oh, here we go, lots of the pit lane. I can see some activity there. The mechanics moving around, the team's getting ready to receive their cars. Colin Dorward, yep, just having a little bit of a moment coming off the track there. Seems like that is largely without incident, and so the session remains live. Green flag is out. Coming in from David Mercer, thank you very much. He's saying, good luck, Eden. Hashtag K11BBW in honor of one of their Micra driving friends, you know, part of that Micra collective who sadly lost his life recently. And a lot of Micra owners are using this hashtag of his number plate to honor him. And you can see there David Mercer just you know, referencing that there as well. Actually, on Eden Young's K11 Micra, if you look on the bonnet of that car, it features the same hashtag, the same honoring of their lost friend on that car as well. It's amazing to see these people come together just in honor of somebody that they've lost. And yeah, hopefully they'll be able to put on a good show today. The Micra collective. So David Mercer there, just giving Eden Young in the other Micra a little bit of encouragement on the comments there. On your screens then you can see the Pace Ward machine. We were just discussing the GT3 sports car prototype class, and you can see Phil Reed in the Pace Ward Nissan Nismo GTR GT3 machine just weaving his way through the track. Round he comes, there you go, and now braking into hairpin. You can just see how much that car is moving around under braking. It's a really, really tricky one to get right. Nobody seems to have come off just yet, which is great. You can see the cool down light flashing on the back of Phil Reed's machine just to tell everyone around him that he is not pushing very hard right now. If you need to get past, if you're in a flying lap, by all means, please come shoot by me. So even though this is one of the fastest cars here, it is not pushing terribly hard, only warm-up. That being said, Phil Reed is the fastest on track right now, and probably the fastest lap time that we have seen all day in time attack with a 129.9. and a whole, oh my goodness, that's only 1/10 of a second faster than the number 100 machine of Gary Hayward, the Mitsubishi Evolution 7 of AP tuning. Always interesting to see these GT3 cars mixed in with the pro cars. You know, you have purpose-built factory race car versus, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying home-built, but you know, this is a car that was once a dealership bought, you know, maybe somebody even went on eBay or Gumtree, bought this car, and then turned it into what you see today. And it's really interesting to see how these creations stack up against the factory race cars ever since the GT3 class was introduced. Really good stuff. Darren Spooner, then, you can see on your screens. Here he comes. And now you've got Bren Simpson in the Nissan Skyline GTR. Actually, this one is not a GTR. The reshape, Bren Simpson, running the BC Racing suspension. You can see it's stickered all over the car as well. This particular one being V8 powered, and a carbed V8 at that. So it's a really old school machine in what is becoming now quite an old school platform, but nonetheless still giving it the beans around here at Time Attack. Love to see it, love to see it. So we have a few Nissan Skyline or GTR related chassis here with us today. We've got the car of Bren Simpson. Sometimes we have a car of Mick Porter, that's not here with us today. And also we have the Nissan Nismo GTR GT3 of Phil Reed with the Pace Ward machine. There you see then, let's have a look. Ben Robinson has just entered your screen in the Noble M12. Ben Robinson, who has been around Time Attack for quite a long time, he's here with Yum Yum Racing. It's like Yum Yum, like the donuts thing. So here we go. I guess he just really likes Yum Yums. I know he's got a daughter as well. Maybe this name has something to do with that, or maybe Ben just really likes Yum Yums. I mean, who can blame him? I love Yum Yums too. They are, yeah, I consider them as one of my 5 a day actually. 5 Yum Yums per day, keeps the doctor away. So here we go then, number 17 car. This is Steve Reed and the Uncle Steve Racing Mitsubishi Evo 8 coming up Deers Leap. Up and over that hill and onto the start-finish straight he comes. And he is currently running down in 9th overall, 3rd fastest in Club Pro 4-wheel drive. Steve Reed in that Mitsubishi Evo 8. Again, those of you following at home, please do go and take a look at the TSL Timing website, and you can have all of that same juicy information, that same juicy data that I have right now if you're interested in following one particular driver. For now, we're looking at Steve Reed. And into Island corner he comes, braking that front lens, super loaded up, rides a little bit of curb on the inside, keeps it nice and clean, nice conservative line through there. He's, you know, not pushing too hard just yet, and of course you can see his headlights aren't even on. He's just trying to feel his way around the track, moves around at the outside of the Subaru Impreza of, I believe that's Andy Hughes, the X-Shift Subaru Impreza single round entry machine. And now he comes onto what I think is quite a fast, scary section. Where you just have to keep your foot planted and just try to string everything together, or it will really bite you in the backside. Oulton Park is a cruel mistress. Get it right, and it's just like being on a roller coaster, really. Get it wrong, and it's like a roller coaster that falls off the rails, which you don't really want. So there we go, Bren Simpson then trying to string it together in that R33 V8 powered Skyline. Carbs doing all that sucky noises stuff that carbs do. A little bit before my time, sorry, I think carbs do that. There you go. Now he comes into Island as well, keeps it nice and stiff. You can just see the body control of that car is incredible. You know, it's a real testament to what BC Racing and sister companies Hard Race can achieve when it comes to tuning a chassis. Just so planted coming through there. Also planted then is the number 22 machine of Matt Newing, the JDS Sport Mitsubishi Evolution 7, currently running 4th fastest and 2nd fastest in class, 4th overall, 2nd in class Pro. 4-wheel drive is Matt Newing with a 1:30.8, 3 seconds off the fastest time so far set by Phil Reed in the Nismo GT3 machine. Headlights ablaze then, just to signal to those around him that Matt Newing is indeed on a quick lap, and he ain't yielding to nobody. And if you're not on a quick lap, oh, there we go, he's also got his cool down light on. So mixed messages there from Matt Newing with his headlights on and cool down light on as well. Who knows what that's supposed to mean? Not me, not me. I think he may have now switched. No, headlights are still on. Oh no, headlights are off, headlights are off, who knows. I'm not going to think about that too much. It's only warm-up. It's too early in the day. There we go, Matt Newing coming into Island. Let's see whether he manages to take this nicely. Seems to have been pretty trouble-free so far. It'll be interesting to see how drivers handle this once they're really getting on the lap times a little bit, but that's so far so clean. Nice work there from Matt Newing. Little puff of smoke from the exhaust on that gear change. Interesting how his headlights are just switching on and off like that. Look at that. Don't know what that means. Let's have a look then. Our session is now, our checkered flag is due to come out any second now. There we go, checkered flag's being waved. Phil Reed, there you go, crosses the line, taking those 2 checkered flags. Phil Reed then leading the session for most of the past 15 minutes, ahead of Matt Newing, ahead of Paul Doyle, ahead of the number 100 machine of Gary Hayward, the AP Tuning Mitsubishi Evo 7. Then we have Andrew Barber, then we have Brent Simpson, Steve Reed. Then we have Gary Plant in the Mitsubishi Evo 5. Ben Robinson in that Noble M12. Darren Spoon in the Peugeot 205. Ian Pittman in the Super Impreza Type R. Type R, you did hear me correctly. That is the super rare 2-door coupe Super Impreza. Then in 12th overall, 3rd fastest in Club Pro 4-wheel drive is Chris Cherry in also a Mitsubishi Evo 5. Then we have Colin Dorward in the Mitsubishi Evo 9, 13th. Then we have the single round entry of Bradley John, the Mitsubishi Evo 9. Then we have Paul Wright in the Super Impreza P1, Stuart Sims in the Mitsubishi Evo 6, Jeff Kershaw in the Ford Focus, Andy Hughes in the Super Impreza, Roman Grandel in the Audi S3, and then Steve Henson. There we go, the orders just changed a little bit. Steve Henson in that Porsche 996 GT3 Cup. Again, let's not get too hung up on lap times because this is only warm-up. It doesn't really count for very much. But there you go, that rounds up our coverage of Time Attack warm-up. So there you go. Yep, so please do join us shortly with for Time Attack practice, which is scheduled to kick off at around probably 11:15. So yep, if you are following the Time Attack today, please do come back at 11:15, and we will see you soon. Thank you.